All right. Oh my gosh, it's Sunday night, which means it's Sunday night service. And I'm Dani Williamson, and this is Dr. Michael Burdgdorf. Look at us. Dr. Motley is off. He's off for a couple months doing all kinds of things. But guys, tonight is a big night. Breast implant illness, plastic surgery. We are talking all of this. Dr. Michael Burdgdorf, board certified plastic surgeon over here. And as soon as you get logged on, make sure you hit your like buttons, hit your heart buttons, share it, do all the things that you're supposed to do. Tell us where you're from, as well as put your questions up there, and we will go through that. I'll go through that on my phone, okay? All right, so we're going to get started immediately on this because this is a hot topic. It is. Right?
It's getting more and more traction. I think there's something to it, and I think this is, well timed.
You bet. And today, October 1st is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Do you know I went to make my mammogram reservation today to have it done? I can't get in until December 13th. I made it today though for December the 13th. So my 3D. But anyway, Dr. Burdgdorf, okay, board certified plastic surgeon. And I'm telling you, he is cutting edge, literally, figuratively, in the plastic surgery world. He really is. And he believes in and I read this right off of his website, which you guys are going to love this about him. Treats the whole patient, not just the disease or the condition. And that's what we do at Integrative Family Medicine. He understands that surgical procedures and medical language can sometimes be confusing, and he is brilliant when it comes to explaining that, breaking it down, and laying it down with patients. He educates, he empowers, and he encourages. I'm telling you, which is exactly what is on my website about me, which is so funny. That's what it says. We educate, empower, encourage. But he got his bachelor's degree from Notre Dame, and you were a linebacker.
I was. I played
for the Fighting Irish.
A little bigger back then, little bigger neck.
Oh my goodness! Yeah. So I mean, his medical degree from Tulane, right? And then while he was doing that, he simultaneously got your master's in public health.
Yes.
And what did you do with tropical medicine?
That's what it was. It was in the School of Public Health
and tropical medicine. Yep. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then his general surgery residence, you started that at Tulane as well. And then when Hurricane Katrina came, that disrupted it.
Yes,
right?
Blown away, or blown north, so to speak.
And he literally was blown to Mississippi, University of Mississippi. Yep. Finished his medical school, his residency there, and then went on to plastics.
Stayed there for plastics, and we had a great time there. And then we decided, hey, we want to raise a family in Middle Tennessee, and with me being from New Jersey, my wife's from Mississippi.
Oh, I didn't know your wife was from Mississippi.
Yep,
okay.
Yep. So that's where
he has 4 amazing children. His wife as well is a physician. But before we move on here, this man has won every award under the sun when it comes to top surgeons in America. Yeah. It's quite fascinating to me. Top plastic surgeons across the country. He's won since 2011. He has won every year the Patient Choice Award.
That's the one I'm really most proud of, honestly, because
that's the patients choosing you.
Right. Yeah, and that to me is important.
What was in Times Square?
Yep, we got it there as it was top aesthetic doc, one of the top 100 in the country, one of the top, I think, plastic surgeons in Middle America. So our portion of the country, and they shined it up on Times Square. It was a big honor to have it up there. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome, actually. But top 100, all the things. Wall Street Journal, been on CNN talking about breast implants and the textured implants.
Yes, the recent issue with the lymphoma that's associated with them.
That's right. He's a published author. He's written 2 books himself, The Mommy Makeover and The Daddy Do-Over, which are fabulous books over here.
They were great. They were a lot of fun.
This is
and a lot of patient stories in there, so that was great. That was helping to kind of bring the education of this whole thing out there without just having a one-on-one all the time.
Exactly. Well, I'm writing my first book, and it comes out in the spring, so you may have to write something.
I can't wait.
Something in the book. Okay, so anyway, lots of textbooks, all kinds of published work over here. But check them out. It's MusicCityPlasticSurgery.com, correct?
That's correct.
MusicCityPlasticSurgery.com, and we'll talk all about that at the end. But I am just honored to have him talking tonight. We are specifically talking about breast implant illness tonight and the controversy around it, what he sees, what I see, what he sees in the operating room, what he sees before the operating room. And disclaimer tonight, before we even get started, there is nothing negative tonight, okay? We're having a healthy discussion. We don't have to agree about everything, because I'm going to talk about what I see. He's going to talk about what he sees. I want all of you all to be kind and to be considerate of everyone, because everyone's going through something.
I'm going to stand up, sit up a little taller now. I'm on my
Here
best
we go.
behavior.
We've all been warned, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I've had so many patients that I've sent to him and have been honored to be under your care.
Well, it's been great that we share patients back and forth.
It has really been something, and I didn't know about him. So here's what I say. Breast implant illness. There were many things that I was not taught in school as a nurse practitioner. I'm certain you weren't taught about this in plastic surgery.
I
mean, as plastic surgery, did they ever mention anything?
No, and that's why I think there's this whole phenomenon is getting traction, because the dissemination of information now is much quicker. And we should continue to improve and continue to evolve and not practice like we learned. Right?
That's exactly right.
And so this whole, I think they're now terming it the breast implant illness. That's a newer term, gosh, within the last couple of years only.
Yes.
And there's, it's a very confusing term. And so there are a lot of symptoms that can be involved with this. And that's what makes it so confusing. And the other aspect of this is I don't think science has caught up to it. So there's not a definitive test.
Yes.
Go ahead. I can.
No, well, I'm going to let him take the ball and run, but I want to give you guys, you all know I like to start off with a few statistics and all. While you guys are getting logged on, hit it, share it, like it, love it, do all the things you're supposed to do here that Facebook loves. But listen, breast augmentation, it continues still to this day to be the top cosmetic surgical procedure in the United States. It has been since 2006.
Very popular. Over 350,000 implants in America by board certified plastic surgeons. So it doesn't take into account all these other surgeons that are doing this operation.
Oh, I didn't even think about that, because I guess a general surgeon may put breast in. Why would
General
you?
surgeons, I've had referrals that patients have had implants from facial plastic surgeons, from OBGYNs, from family medicine doctors, and then this cosmetic surgery realm, which is very unregulated. So if you take a weekend course, you can potentially get in and be doing this as well.
Oh my goodness. Over the last 5 years, 1.5 million augmentations approximately have taken place. Is that about right?
I think that's from board certified plastic surgeons.
Okay, yes.
I think the number is huge.
Most common, the age though, is between 19 and 34. That's about 46.8% of the implants. That's what I found today. Did you think that's about right?
I think that's about right. The age, it spans. It goes up pretty old.
In the 60s. I mean, I know, I saw that.
Yeah.
Now, there are multiple reasons that people have breast implants. It's not just for cosmetic surgery. I mean, it could be there was a horrible accident, a fire, a disfiguration. I mean, multiple things. Genetic disfiguration, cancer, which is interesting to me, though. The more I learn about the immune system and what goes on in your body, and I know most people do get breast implants after they have breast cancer, but my patients, I would warn them against that with autoimmune disease as much as we have. But I've never thought about it, because it was just always a given that you get breast implants after breast cancer for most people.
Well, no, you'd be surprised. It's actually, I think the latest statistic, when I last looked, which was probably 5 years or so, it was only 17%.
Oh, really?
Yeah, get reconstructed with.
Oh, I didn't know that. I figured it was more than that. Well, see, I was wrong. But it seems like all of my friends that had silicone implants were used in 88%, saline 12% of all breast augmentations in 2018. That sounds about right?
Yep. The trend has swung back towards silicone. For years, there was a certain generation of silicone that was pulled off the market, and so then the only safe safe implant was saline. So that was used for years. And in 05, 06, they reconfigured and re-released the silicone gel, which we just call it gel now, because I can't remember silicone, saline. I go gel and I go saline. So the gel implants are back on, and they've been kind of taken over for the last several years. They feel better, they last longer, they're stronger. They look and feel and move like natural equipment.
Like the natural stuff. 313, 735 is what's on this registry from 2018, which is up 4%. You know, we're hearing a lot about breast implant illness and things, but that's up 13,000 over 2017, approximately. Approximately. Breast implant removals. I found this interesting. approximately 29,236 in 2018, up from 27,000 and some change in 2017. Does that sound about right?
I do. I think that makes sense. Again, back in the 2000s, that's when there was still that controversy of the old gel, and were people having issues at that point, and there were more taking them out at that point, possibly. You know, when we look at 29,000 out of 300,000, 350,000, it's a small percentage, but it's a real percentage.
Right.
And I think that percentage is growing.
So what are you seeing before I get into, because I have all kinds of notes on here, but you know, what do you see? Why do they come here?
So, all right, so then we can kind of get into a little bit of the definition of
Yes.
this breast implant illness.
Yes.
And what makes it so confusing, again, like I said, was the science is not there. There's not something we can test that we can submit either the implant, the fluid around the implant, or the lining around the implant, the capsule, for any certain test that is a definitive test. I have seen patients that have kind of these global symptoms, so throughout their body. Mental fog, they talk about.
Yes.
Fatigue, kind of
Yes.
these symptoms of chronic illness.
Yes.
Joint pain. We've seen hair loss, brittle nails. Then we get into some of the autoimmune stuff.
You bet.
Where, you know, you can have either autoimmune markers that are elevated, or you can see definitive diagnosis of lupus, fibromyalgia, some of those couple of things.
MS. I've had,
Yeah, MS, absolutely, yeah. And so, but there's also then the localized symptoms, so specific around to the implants, hardness around the implant. They call it a capsular contracture, where the scar that develops around the implant is hard and tight. Pain, I've heard of numbness in the same extremity.
Yes.
Where fingers go numb, tingling, shocking pain, sharpshooting pain to that area, chest pain, difficulty
Shoulder
breathing,
pain.
shoulder pain. So all that's kind of anatomically related. Then I've heard other patients that have had leg pain, difficulty walking. We frozen? Or
Yeah. What is
oh,
going
here we
on?
are. We're back.
There we are. We're back. We froze for a second.
I like to look at myself. So
Yeah,
right. But then all these other like non-anatomical symptoms, not related, where I say, I don't know if we take these implants out, if that's going to cure these symptoms.
Exactly.
It's going to help. A lot of times it does. So it can be just, you know, pick it. I mean, it's a very confusing picture because, you know, kind of maybe not so funny for patients who are going through this, but I had a patient and her husband come in, and her husband said, well, you describe all these symptoms. I think I have breast implant illness, and I don't have breast implants.
Right,
Like,
right.
Well, we're all tired, you know, we're all
Tired.
tired, we're all overworked, and you know, we're going in so many different directions. So it is typically women we're seeing that have had a couple of small children, maybe teetering on the border of menopause.
Yes.
Is that affected or not? That's what we don't know. And but I do know that when we take the implants out, a lot of these symptoms tend to go away.
Isn't that something? The same symptoms you're talking about are the ones that my patients come in and report to me. Fatigue, cognitive dysfunction, brain fog is huge, memory loss, headaches,
Yes.
joint pain, muscle pain, hair loss, they tell me, recurring infections, like their immune system is just turned on for some reason, swollen lymph nodes, rashes. I've had patients tell me that, you know, their thyroid and their adrenals, they talk about that. I don't know though, because the bulk of my patients are thyroid and adrenal patients. Chest pressure. I hear that, like it's real heavy here. I wouldn't know. I've never had breast implants. Look at here. I wonder what's going on. It's storming outside. So there's a little bit, sorry that I think because it's storming outside, it's a little bit delayed in here because we have a good internet connection, but chest pressure, like very difficult, hard to take a deep breath is what I hear.
And we'll see that
pain here.
Right after surgery, patients will wake up and it's, I took a deep breath for the first time in 15
Well,
years.
I've sent you 2 patients recently, and both were not young spring chickens. They were in their 60s. Both said the moment they woke up, they could breathe. And one said the pain that she thought was from a car wreck was gone. Is gone. 100% gone.
The other thing I think is always fascinating is the mental fog, or that, you know, that brain dysfunction. They wake up from surgery, they still have anesthesia on board. And they comment to me post-operatively saying, I'm feeling and seeing and thinking so much clearer from the minute I wake up.
Isn't that
which
unbelievable?
is shocking to me. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, immediately. So you're seeing this. I mean,
We're seeing it. We're seeing it. And you know, like I said, it's a fairly new phenomenon, or a fairly newly named phenomenon. And we're trying to figure out what to do. And so
Okay.
let's get back in the history a little bit of implants. And so you mentioned in 2000, a lot of women were taking them out.
Yes.
Because in the late 80s, early 90s, the silicone gel that was used was very liquid.
Okay.
Had a likelihood of rupturing. The implants would rupture, the silicone would then get out into the body, and they would develop these granulomas or these knots around in the armpits, and it was very scary. A woman has a knot in her armpit, first thought is breast cancer.
You bet it is.
So the companies, we're frozen again. Let's see, I'm gonna keep talking.
Oh, well, we're
No,
still
back.
talking here.
All right,
Okay.
sorry. The companies reconfigured, they pulled the silicone off the market.
Okay.
Any of the tests that they ever did to determine, is there a direct link between the implants and these other problems? Nothing was proven.
Okay.
Again, I don't know if that's because science hadn't caught up, but nothing was proven.
Okay.
It did force the implant company to redo the implant. So they made them stronger. They call it more cohesive. And I've got a couple.
We have
This one's
implants.
probably like the best one. This one's cut in half. Where's one? There.
Oh, wow.
So, I'm squeezing it and it's not going anywhere. It's sticky.
Oh, it is.
So that's the more cohesive gel. And so if it ruptures, it's not going anywhere. It's going to stay all confined within the cavity that's placed with the implant, or while making the implant. And so that kind of was the big impetus to get them back on the market. That was around 2005, 2006.
Okay.
And they're much stronger. I mean, we take them and tie them up in knots all the time and twist them around and all that. So they're much, much stronger. I've got a saline here, which it's like
Those are heavy.
yeah, it's
Oh my
heavy. It's like a
gosh.
big water balloon.
Yeah.
They ripple and shake, and these tend to pop. So
They
if
do.
they pop, that's like a flat tire, and you still have this.
I mean,
back.
that is so heavy.
Yeah.
And that's not a big one, is it?
No.
I don't know.
But
Like,
it's you still have this bag, this silicone bag, this shell is made out of silicone too. So
again, I don't think people realize that. They say I've got saline, but
Yeah,
they may have
but
saline, but they've also got silicone.
silicone
The
here.
whole thing is silicone.
And then the inside is the medical grade silicone that I was just showing you. So the implants were then put back on the market. And so now then the trend has gone back with the silicone gel, the newer gel, because it just looks better, it feels better, it moves more naturally with you,
Okay.
and it's stronger and it lasts. You asked me, before talking, the myth of you have to get the implants exchanged
Yes.
or changed out every 10 or 15 years
Yes.
really comes from the saline. With the saline, we have to overfill it. So if you can see, I'll try to bring it up closer. You have the scalloping around the edges here.
Yes.
And so you overfill it with more
Oh.
fluid. Now this one has been out a little while and the fluid has evaporated a little bit. But if not, if it's underfilled or just filled normal, these little folds, I'm trying to show it,
Oh, yeah.
scallop and they rub against each other and they call it a fold flow. So that it rubs over time, and then it pops. So the likelihood of this rupturing at 10 years is 10%, and it increases every year by 1%. The silicone
Really?
gel is less than that. It's about a 7 or 8%, and it kind of stays stable. So you don't have to replace these. The companies won't say they're a lifetime device, but the idea is if you're not having problems, and let's be clear, the majority of women do not have problems with this. And now the only statistic we have that we talked about tonight was about a 10% that are getting these out. I think the patients who are having problems are probably a little bit higher than that,
Sure.
because the awareness is getting bigger, but it is still a small percentage in the relation of how many we put in. So the majority of patients do great with this, and I look at it kind of like an allergy. In my mind, that's how I wrap my mind around it. Is there's people that have gluten sensitivity, or there's people who are lactose intolerant, and you don't want to give them ice cream or give them cheese. I can take that, no problem.
Correct.
Does that make me better or worse? No, it's different. And so if we can figure out why patients are having this issue, then we can test that ahead of time and say, you know what, you're not a good candidate for these implants.
Which is what we
problems.
just discussed prior to this,
Yeah.
because I've never ever checked anybody for HLA B27 or HLA DR53, right?
No.
Because again, this was not on my radar. But I found out today when I did a little research, and I actually asked on an MTHFR, I think it'll catch up, on an MTHFR page on Facebook about this, and does Quest do this? Because I couldn't find it specifically. Yes, Quest does test for HLA B27 and DR53, as does LabCorp. But here's the thing. So these are genetic SNPs, right? In your genetic makeup, these are genetic SNPs to where actually if you have for sure the DR53, you can't tolerate any silicone in the body at all. That's what this SNP says. That's what they say. And within 1 week, it's possible that you could begin to develop immune symptoms. Okay. High autoimmune in the family, especially, well, ankylosing spondylitis, right? 1995 study. There was a 1995 study that evaluated DR53 may be a marker for women who are predisposed by that genotype to develop autoimmune symptoms following exposure to silicone gel implants. I pulled that off of PubMed this afternoon.
Okay.
I had no idea.
Well,
I did not know, but I do think that that would be something possibly you could, if you've got these codes right here, you could test them and say, you know what, I'm not sure.
Right.
This is going to be a good thing.
With saying that the silicone is the issue. I mean, silicone is so ubiquitous in medicine. IV tubing. I mean, it's everywhere. And so, yeah, I agree. If you are, showing this on the labs, implants, something that's going to be in their place in there long term.
Right.
Not a good idea.
Not so sure. Yeah. What is silicone made out of exactly? Because I don't know. I don't have any idea.
It's a silicone gel, which is just it started from silica, which is in glass, and it's got a couple biochemical components to make it this gel. And depending on how tight or tight we want to cross-link the particles, that's how cohesive the gel is. So there's certain types of gel that's out there that's more cohesive or put together stronger than others. But it's just silicone. So there's some discussions on some of these groups about metals.
Yes,
there's no metal in this. I don't know where the metal idea came up because again, it's glass. It's a glass-based substance. So the metal aspect is not in this. The companies don't put metal in this. They don't mix it with metals. And so I don't know where that got into this lore of this breast implant. Let's say you have to test for metals and metal toxicity.
Arsenic, cadmium, zinc, mercury, lead. Yeah. These are all things that I've read. Copper, cobalt, nickel, etc. in breast implants.
And then they talk about the metal toxicity aspect, which I had a discussion with a pathologist Thursday or Friday this past week about this. And he said, look, there are so many people out there with joint replacements, knee replacements, hip replacements, all that stuff. That's titanium metal. That is metal. Those people aren't having issues with the metal toxicity, according to him.
According to him.
Of
course, now dentists will also tell you that as well. And we do have ways to test. The dentist that I have in Nashville, in Franklin, test for titanium sensitivity. So when I had my implants put in, I have titanium. I didn't have a titanium issue, but there are people who have titanium issues.
I think that's.
But again, it's not the majority, and I do get that.
Right.
But the ones who do, it's not pretty.
Well, and that's where these testings I think can be somewhat patient-led. I'm a minimalist with testing. I don't like to draw a bunch of blood before we go to surgery. To me, if you're relatively healthy, which I only tend to operate on healthy people, that's kind of my specialty. I don't need to be a vampire and pull off all these blood from you and test you for this stuff, because to me it's just a waste of money. It's not going to change my management.
Right.
So and I kind of learned that from medical school a little bit. Like, hey, if a test is going to be recommended, it's going to be recommended because it affects the majority of people.
You bet.
Now that's not right or wrong. It's just their way of looking at, do we globally say, hey, this is the best test? But if a patient says, I want to be tested for this because I'm concerned, yeah, absolutely. I think it's worthwhile.
I think that the big one you never know. We need to do more research on the HLA.
Absolutely.
Cindy Kubica says, it's been a little over a year since Dr. B did my explant. So she's saying this on here on Facebook. Widespread pain is gone. Multiple sclerosis symptoms gone. Fibro gone. Brain fog amazingly better. Eyesight is even better.
I'm so proud of Cindy in the way she responded with this. And she was one of these patients that I alluded to. And now I'm going to share a little bit because she's already talked about having this done. But if I remember correctly, she woke up from surgery and was like, holy smokes, I feel great. And I'm like, well, you had anesthesia on board. Of course you feel great. She's like, no. I'm clear as it was when I was a teenager. And that's just awesome.
It is awesome. And it's very common with my patients to feel that way. but not everybody
No.
wakes up
No,
and
no,
feels this great, right?
No,
They
and-
don't, and it can take a year or so for
Absolutely.
people to start to resolve the brain fog and all the symptoms. What if you wake up and what if you aren't better?
Right. And that's what I talk about a lot in my office, is that I don't know that all these symptoms, are they related to the implant or are they not? And so I always say, look, the only thing I can guarantee you with this surgery is when we take out your implants, your breasts will be smaller. It's the only thing I know that has a cause effect. And that's difficult for me because as a scientist, I want to have this is going to happen, and then this is going to happen, and then that's going to, and we just don't know. There's a lot of gray.
There's a lot of gray.
So I say, I hope we have resolution, and we'll get into the exact treatment here in a couple minutes. But what I've seen, and as we're studying this more and more, and really paying more attention, the least amount of responses I've had from patients with their symptoms has been 85% response, which is awesome, right? We've had some that have had 100% resolution. And we talk about, yep, you may have that right away, expect some dip back down, you may experience some of these symptoms again, and then it'll start ramping back up. And usually around 3 months, we're seeing somewhat of a steady state, although somebody just told me recently at 6 months it took them to where they really started feeling better. And this was there out a year. And so it can take a little bit of time, and there can be waxing and waning. And so to your question earlier, if we take the implants out and they don't respond, we can always put them back in, right? I mean, it's definitely an operation, and it's a bigger operation to take them out with the capsule.
Correct, and that's what we want to really go through, because I know there's a lot. There's a lot. There's a lot of talk and confusion on what goes on. So let's talk about that. And it's not freezing on their side, by the way. That's what
we'll stop yelling at them.
Multiple people have said it's not freezing on our side. But Victoria says, what if you received silicone implants in 1970 and when removed, all silicone had drained into my body?
Right.
I have all those symptoms, plus I have MTHFR mutation.
That's where it gets really difficult, because that stuff's been in there for a long time. I've had a couple patients that have car accidents, and it kind of got pushed in and then to the other part, parts of their body. And so that's where this is a little out of my realm, and this is why I love Dani, because we can team up and do some of this stuff together, where I go in and physically remove as much of that silicone as possible, take out the capsule, clean it all up from the inside. The body's going to have some response to this. Usually we're seeing some fevers post-operatively for a couple of days, while it is kind of getting now used to it. But I've had some patients come back in, and so I'm trying to get rid of a lot of misinformation out there.
Yes.
And so hopefully you guys can fast forward through some of this other stuff if it doesn't mean anything to you. This does not, opening up the capsule, and causing or peeking into the capsule, there's usually not a lot of leakage that happens when we do that. Now, in this other patient you just talked about that it was out, it's out, and it's like the horse is out of the barn, and we can try to get all the other stuff out, and then we have to, do some other treatments afterwards. But brings me back to a story in residency. People were saying, I had one patient, and the thought was, well, you opened him up, and that caused the cancer to spread because the air got there and it caused the cancer to spread. No, it didn't. That had spread before. We weren't able to detect it.
Right.
Same type of thing with this stuff. Taking the implants out shouldn't cause them to get the silicone to get into the body or have things spill. Very rarely is there a bunch of fluid around that causes it to get out and get in the system. And we'll get into the treatment whenever you want.
Tell us. I want to know. Okay, tell us, how does this work? Because I know that en bloc, a capsulectomy, all these things. This is what these people are wanting to know about.
And this is where this is still such a gray area. However, there is one thing that's associated with the capsule.
So let's talk about the capsule, because they may not know. So what happens when you put this in?
We put the implant in.
Okay, it's in.
And your body's going to have a natural reaction to this foreign body, this foreign substance, and it's going to wall it off.
Okay.
With kind of an inflammation, a scar tissue. Really.
Right, correct.
And most of the time, that scar tissue is fine. It's pliable. It moves back and forth, and it's just a little lining over top. And so that's why they say silicone. Why they chose this as the implant is that this is supposedly the least reactive substance that can be placed in the body.
Okay.
So even like I talked about the knee replacements, the joint replacements, those have a capsule that forms as well. So anything, I mean, probably even the filling, you know, underneath, it has a little capsule that's formed. So most of the time the capsule does fine. If the capsule has now we learned that the bacteria associated with it or around it, it creates a biofilm around the implant.
Okay.
And that biofilm can stay there and fester and can get thicker and harder. So then that capsule becomes a capsular contracture, where that scar contracts down on the implant, making it, you know, really stuck and compressed.
Okay.
And so that's where people can talk about, I'm having pain, I feel like I'm pulled to the side all the time, or it's in my armpit and it's just stuck on the chest wall.
And it truly is.
And
It is truly
yeah.
stuck and pulling.
And it's hard. It's a contractile force that pulls down on this implant.
This is what looks
because
like
this is
just
compressible.
oranges compressed on here, just like balled up oranges.
And there's different grades, and like the most severe grade is you can see from across the room, it's just stuck. And
Wow.
And it can be cold. It's obviously going to be hard. It's going to be painful, and we want to get to that before the issue happens.
Okay.
Okay, so that's one thing. The textured implants that are out there now with this scare with this lymphoma,
Yes.
that is associated with the capsule that is a chronically inflamed, and it kind of puts the immune system into overdrive, and it develops this lymphoma. Okay, so
Okay. And those textured, is that a textured one?
yeah, this is a textured one. There's a couple different texturing. There's 3 different companies, so you can look and see here.
Yeah,
it's
you can,
different
I can see
than
it. Yeah,
smooth.
that's clear.
Smooth,
Yeah.
you see all the way through it. It's, you know, no big deal. This one is a little bit like sandpaper.
Oh, I've never seen one.
And that one's not, there's a couple of different grades or aggressivenesses of the capsule. And so
it's my understanding that, and I may be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, that this texture almost acts like a Velcro for the
That's exactly
cancer.
how I thought. No,
I mean,
no.
for what, to get there and create the, because it's not a breast cancer.
No, it's
This
not a breast
is
cancer.
not a breast cancer, and
at
I
all.
think that's a misconception. These do not increase your breast cancer
Not at all.
risk. It's an immune system cancer.
It is.
But
And
it
so,
acts like a Velcro for the
well, one of the advantages was that it does like a Velcro, and it stays put. And so your body kind of ingrows to these little undulations of this texturing,
Yes.
like a Velcro, and holds on to it. Now, if there's a problem and there's bacteria, the bacteria can also get into these little spots and stay there and then fester, and then it gets thicker and harder.
and that's when your immune systems turn on, and that's when the
it's
cancer.
going, and then the cancer goes. And they'd say it's between an average of 8 years, anywhere from 2 to 28. Now, again, this is not breast implant illness. However, the treatment for this it's BIA-ALCL, breast implant associated anaplastic large cell lymphoma. The treatment is to take this out plus the capsule around it, the scar tissue around it. If you catch that early enough, that's curative. So there's something going on with the capsule there.
Yes.
Now, let's bring it back to the breast implant illness. Something's going on. Is it the implant? Is it the capsule? I think it's something with the capsule. And so in my practice, and a lot of other people, other docs that are trying to treat this as well, we treat it that the capsule is the issue. And so we want to take the capsule out as well.
Yes.
That's curative. Okay. So we want the capsule out. We want the whole thing out. We want the capsule to be gone. Now, there's where we had some discussion earlier. How do we do this? What's the best way?
Yes.
There's en bloc, then there's total capsulectomy.
Okay.
And then there's also capsulotomy, which just means opening the capsule and pulling the implant out, which is a waste of time when we're talking about the breast implant illness.
Okay. Okay.
But again, as we evolve, we're learning more what to do with this capsule, because a lot of times people have, if you even had this capsular contracture, they would take the implant out, leave the capsule, and change position. So if you had your implant under the muscle initially, they would leave that in there and then put the implant over the muscle. No more capsular contracture. Or they did see that there was a higher risk of developing the capsular contracture again.
Oh.
Maybe because that bacteria is already there in the system and is so closely associated. So anyway, so I try to take the capsule out entirely.
A total capsulectomy. Okay.
So let's get into definitions. En bloc, it's ENBLOC.
That's right.
And it's a French word meaning total, everything together. And basically, the en bloc means you go down, you dissect down to the capsule tissue and take everything around and out in one fell swoop. So I was trying to make this as
That's the
simple.
same as the total capsulectomy.
No, it's
no,
not.
it's totally different.
No, it's not
See,
totally different.
Confusing.
It's not totally different, but it's different. So let's bring it to a different analogy, because I like to go other analogies, and I'm good for food a lot of times, but I haven't come up with a food one.
Okay.
It's like my sock and shoe. If my sock is the implant, If my sock is the capsule, now I'm screwing myself up.
No, wait, sock would be the
Sock would
capsule.
be the capsule.
Your foot would be the
Shoe
implant.
would be the implant. So we'll reverse that.
Yeah, shoe is the.
Do we have
capsule.
pause, time out? All right, so if the shoe is the capsule.
Yes,
and
the shoe's the
the
capsule.
implant is the sock.
Yes.
We want to get the implant out, right?
Yes.
So we can either take the shoe out first,
Yeah.
the capsule,
Uh-huh.
or just kind of undo the laces and then pull your sock off. Right?
Okay. Yeah, sure.
That'd be a capsulectomy. Or we can go up and take the sock, pull the sock down over the shoe and pull it out all in one fell swoop. That's an end block.
Well, that's okay.
Does that make more sense?
Yeah.
So end block means you take it all out. You don't even look at the implant. You pull it out. Boom.
Whoa.
Total capsulectomy means it could be with end block, or it could be you open it up, take the implant out, and then take the capsule out as well. Take the sock out as well. Take the shoe off first, then take the sock off.
That's how you do it.
It depends.
Okay.
I like to try and do it as end block, but
Yes. Okay.
there's a lot of risk with that. There's a lot of issue with that. If a woman had straight up augmentation and has an incision this big underneath her breast, to do an end block, I'm not going to get that implant out through here, plus the capsule out through that little incision.
right.
So now I got to make an incision that's at least this big. I can't see right. At least this big. Ends up being the whole breast, and that can be debilitating. I mean, now you have this giant scar here. For what reason? I don't think that the end block versus the capsulectomy is that big of a deal because of what I've seen with my patients. If I'm not able to get it out, end block, if I don't have a reason, meaning that we're going to do a lift, or she's already had a breast lift procedure, or if she's had breast reconstruction previously and she's got a mastectomy scar, that I can use the whole thing, that's
Yes.
great. It's certainly a lot easier if I can make a giant incision and not have to go through this teeny hole to kind of get around things.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
But we want to get the whole capsule out. And so
Yes.
Taking the capsule out is most important. If I have to do it in piecemeal fashion.
Okay.
try
And I
not to.
had a surgeon last week tell a patient in Williamson County that just did not matter. That he did not believe in that. No, because I hear this,
Right.
and that's a huge controversy on these boards.
It is.
You find a surgeon that will work hard to do that,
Right.
to get that out, right?
That's where there's all these gradations of it. There's end block, there's total capsulectomy where I'm at, and then there's total capsulectomy even. I think that's where you're talking about this other surgeon.
Yeah.
That it doesn't matter or not. The issue with using the end block, and again, I try to do it as much as I can, has to do with the anatomy. So the capsule itself oftentimes is not thick and hard, and it's not easily definable.
Oh.
So back to my analogy,
Oh.
I like food analogy. So think of a hard-boiled egg.
Ah,
The hard-boiled, the capsule can be hard like a shell, like the egg,
yes.
or it can be very thin and only like a cell or two layer thick.
Oh, goodness.
So think about the egg. You crack the shell, that little lining between the egg
Oh, yes.
and the shell.
Yes.
That's the capsule. And a lot of times with these breast implant illness patients, we have a very, very thin, malleable, movable capsule.
Okay.
Very difficult to dissect out, very difficult to remove from the surface. So if they're under the muscle, you have muscle above and you have rib cage below and you got the implant, right?
Oh, my goodness.
So I'm peeling this capsule off the implant. It's stuck to the muscle.
Yeah.
And then I'm peeling it off the rib cage. It's very, very tightly adherent to the ribs. And so when you try and peel it off cell layer by cell layer, it's stuck. And so oftentimes what I'm doing is peeling, and you can try, and oftentimes it just won't peel. And I think it's inappropriate at this point to then go and cut a portion of the rib out,
Oh, gosh.
because this is not a cancer. So we're not going to do that. We're not going to enter into the rib cage. We're not going to get into the lung cavity and cause a collapsed lung.
No, no.
So what I end up doing is desiccating with the electric cautery on the ribs, and burning the capsule so it's disintegrating. So the
Wow.
capsule's out, it's off.
Okay.
But the end block aspect is not always possible. And there's some stuff, on these on some of these Facebook sites that say you have to get an end block.
Yes.
Well, sometimes it's just not feasible in surgery. It's like separating out the blue from my shirt. I mean, it just doesn't happen. So I'm a big believer in let's get this whole thing out as much as we can.
Right.
And I'll show pictures and I'll say, look, I struggled on the ribcage. You were so stuck here. And there's different techniques that we can use to try to peel it off and help hydrodissect using some water and all to get it to lift up.
Wow.
But I'm going to take I will accept having to burn this off the ribcage, then trying to resect the rib to get in and cause a pneumothorax or a collapsed lung, which is a big deal.
Oh yeah, I had a collapsed lung from a rib, thoracic outlet. Had a rib removed, and you don't want to collapse longer. Yes, it is.
And so, we try for the en bloc. It's not always possible, but at the then very least is a total capsulectomy. I believe that's important.
Yeah. Well,
there's a lot of theories on this.
And then, do you put drains in? Because this is everything that I've read, and my patients tell me, do you put drains in?
It depends on the patient. I hate drains. Drains
well, patients
are
hate drains, but they say they work well. Yes.
They do. And the idea is we're trying, so again, my shirt and my jacket. Okay. If the implant is there, and this is the top of where I've dissected, and my shirt is the rib cage, we want this space that now was previously there with the implant. We want it to collapse back and cinch back down and not develop we don't want that pocket there anymore. So we don't want it to fill up with fluid, blood, potentially any source of infection. We don't want anything to happen. So we want this to cinch back down and get back to normalcy. The drains help that. It's a negative pressure drain. It's a little tube that goes in, stays in for a week, and it's hooked up to a little bulb. Looks like a little hand grenade.
Right, that's right. That looks like 2 hand grenades.
And it suctions the skin back down.
Yes.
So where then it's tight, you can have better results and not be not having issues, not having long-term effects where they can fill back up with fluid and blood, and you can't see the aesthetic results at all.
So these are questions that patients were wanting me to ask you because I didn't know what you did.
Yeah, sure. I mean, some of that's inside baseball, I guess. But one thing, I think nowadays the surgeons are getting better. So the group that I'm with, the American Board, the American Society of Plastic Surgeons and the American Society of Aesthetic Plastic Surgeons, these are the board certified plastic surgeons. We're taking a better stance at this time around.
Okay.
Back in the 80s, 90s, which was before I was out in my practice, there was a little bit of a disconnect, and it was, you patients don't know what you're talking about. We do as surgeons, and it was this very contentious relationship.
Right.
I think we've all progressed enough to know that, look, if you're a patient of mine, like you're my patient, and I'm on your side, and I want you to do well in whatever you're going to do.
Sure.
And so we're coming at this as we're teaming up.
Right.
And so again, back to the whole, can I solve these problems? I don't know. I hope to by taking the implant out, the capsule out. I know the aesthetic results are going to be a little less than ideal.
Right.
And that hurts me too, because that's what my business.
That's right.
But we didn't talk at all about the psychological component.
Let's talk about it because it's huge.
I think there's something to that aspect as well. And I don't think that matters. I don't think that negates the other symptoms. If I'm thinking about something that I got going on, and it's something, whether it's in my body or it's something else, I'm worried about, I'm going to see my parents for Christmas this year, and I got to make that plane reservation. And I think about it, and I don't stop thinking about it until the plane reservation is done, and I'm on the plane going. Right? So if the implant is in there and there's a potential, this thing could be causing problems for me, and I can get this out, what's preventing me from doing that?
That's right.
It's not wrong if I improve because I'm thinking there's going to be a problem here with the implant, and there is, and now it's out, and I'm thinking I'm going to get better. Okay, what's wrong with that? I think that's great.
There's nothing wrong with that.
On the flip side, I don't like to put people in for surgery if they think they're going to have poor results.
Oh, that's huge.
They will have poor results.
There's a whole body of study on that they've just studied. Sure, your mindset.
The mind-body connection is very, very apparent in this. And so I look at it as the dragon with the thorn in his paw. And if you can take the thorn off and make some improvement, then okay. What do we lose?
That's exactly right. And I believe my patients when they tell me. I mean, do you see any certain, okay, what, we're talking here a little bit about the psychological and all that.
Yeah.
What about the spouses?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I think that's a big deal that we don't talk enough about,
Yep.
And when I get the spouses in my office, because I get a lot of sick autoimmune patients in there, they actually, for the first time, it almost seems like actually get to listen to what their spouse is going through, whether mine could be a husband or a wife. And they're horrified for that hour and a half when I'm asking all these questions. That's a big part of this.
It is. And it's a big part of their healing as well.
You bet.
Whether they believe, hey, this is related to this, and then we see a lot of women, so obviously we're doing implants, but so the women are concerned, well, what is my husband going to think? What is my partner going to think if I don't have the good looking breasts anymore? And I'm like, look, he didn't marry you for only your boobs, right?
That's right.
That doesn't make you a woman. And I learned this long ago with breast reconstruction stuff. Breasts are great. There's other things on a woman that's very attractive. There's things on a guy that are attractive. It's not one thing that makes the whole package, right? And so that's what you brought up about how you treat your patients, how I treat my patients. This is a whole person. It's not a one anatomic thing. And so when the husband buys in, so to speak,
you bet,
supports his spouse, man, that's tremendous. And then
their healing is so much better.
And then they come back and they're like, oh my gosh, thank you for doing this. Now our life is so much better because she's not thinking about this all the time.
That's right.
She's not feeling bad because she's dragging me down.
Right.
But I never felt that. It's a freeing aspect on all fronts.
Well, I just read a post on the breast implant healing with Nicole today, that website, which has gone up from 40,000 last year when we interviewed Cindy on Sunday Night Service to over 100,000 now. It's a huge Facebook group and it's got some amazing information on it. And it's got a ton of patient testimonials. And who's to say that, they're telling the truth. But one of the girls posted on there that her husband, it's been like 4 weeks out, post-op, and she is in a much better mood in the mornings. Her brain fog is gone, all these things, energy's better. And he was telling her how more enjoyable or something she is, and he's noticing it. And he texted her, she had pictures of the text on there, and that he was just so grateful that she had done this. And that's huge.
Yeah.
When they see a difference and they acknowledge
Absolutely.
it. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it really is. I love having spouses come in the office to hear what's going on because this is a very stressful issue. And and now it's getting better, but yet still women are searching to find a doctor who will acknowledge these symptoms.
Yes.
And believe me as I tell you this stuff, right? And so that's good. And then I'm telling them all these different things. And I know they remember about 30%.
Right.
Because it's like, oh my gosh, it's overwhelming, it's overload. And
yes,
to have that there is very helpful. And then they journey through it too. It's not, you don't go through this in a bubble, right? So you go through it with the family, you go through it with us, hopefully with you. And so, we want to walk with them. And we want one of my big things with my practice is I'm excited for the aesthetic results, but I like to see how it affects relationships.
You bet.
And that's so important to me. So having somebody supportive is just awesome.
Well, aesthetics is your job. And that's what, and so the fact though that you acknowledge this is huge, and it's huge for these patients. The fact that you believe. Okay. One other thing here. Do you give antibiotics afterwards? So because that's a big deal on these pages that you've seen. They say, you need some antibiotics and antifungals.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. So let's talk about it just because I've had patients ask me and I don't know the answer.
No, and that's the stuff that this is unproven.
Okay.
Antibiotics, they have been overused for many, many years. It was the idea of, I got a sniffle, I need something.
Yes.
Give me an antibiotic. Give me an antibiotic. And that's the worst thing to do. You can select out now for more virulent organisms. And the studies have proven that with surgery, you need antibiotics 30 to 60 minutes prior to skin incision.
Okay.
So all my patients will get it in the holding area.
Oh.
They'll get it before we make an incision.
I didn't know that.
And that lasts a good 4 hours. If I'm in surgery for more than 4 hours, we will redose. The studies have shown we don't need any additional antibiotics. We are just prolonging things and potentially selecting out for more toxic or virulent organisms.
Well,
That
true.
can be a problem. So
As
I'm
well
a
as
minimalist.
impacting the microbiome, the gut microbiome.
Absolutely, it's
For
got all
sure.
these other,
You bet.
far-reaching effects. So no, I don't do that. Antifungals, I have not seen anywhere where there's fungus or any of that stuff in the implants. I talked.
What about mold?
No, I haven't seen that either. And I talked to the pathologist this week, and I said, "Do we have tests for this?" Because I've been getting more and more questions on this. And he said the only reason you're going to see this around the implants is in somebody who is severely immunocompromised to the extent of like a leukemia, where they can't mount any sort of immune response, where their white blood cell count is like down into the 1 or 2, and average then it's like thousands, and the average is 5 to 6. So 5 times that is of a normal range.
Okay.
And he said the tests are multiple thousands of dollars. And what are you going to do with that anyway? If I'm getting a response of at least 85% by taking the capsule out, and and more, what does spending a whole bunch of extra money do with that? It's not changing my management. It's not. I don't know that there's going to be that much more improvement. If I feel 95% better, is 96% that big of a difference? It may be, and that's not for me to decide. That's only for the patient to decide.
That's right.
But is that worth that extra money? I'd love to spend your money, but I don't want to spend my patient's money unnecessarily. I will do it where it's something that makes sense to me and I can find a cause effect. Yes.
And do they get their implants back?
No, they don't. And I don't again.
Because I had a whole room full of
reason?
women in my office with implants when I did a little breast implant talk. Everybody had their implants in a bucket.
I don't know the purpose.
Well, I don't know. I don't know that answer either.
I mean, it may be.
But they had them.
The only thing I can think of with taking it out and having it is proof that these are mine. Well,
Okay.
Again, we're on your side this time as doctors. It's not. I'm not going to swap in, and I can show you here. You want a pair of implants? Oh yeah, these were your implants. I mean, if the doctor's dishonest, he's going to be dishonest whatever you request.
Oh, goodness gracious.
So I think taking them back is not going to be helpful. I think if there's a lawsuit potentially that's going to happen, I think I tell my patients, I'm going to support you on this. It's in the operative note. Here's what I saw. Here's what we took out.
Oh yeah, and they say get your notes. All the
that I have no problem with. I mean that's their medical record.
That's right.
And
That's your legal document. It is, and I say that with everything. Everything you write in the chart, everything I write in there is your business.
Yeah, there's no hiding in that. But getting the implant back or getting the capsule back, I mean, it's a stinky, nasty, dead piece of tissue. What do you want it for? It's gross.
I know.
And I don't know the benefit of that. And
some people do get them back though.
They do.
I know.
They do. And I don't understand that. If I'm going to have the pathologist look at it, they're going to cut that up and then they incinerate it. Okay. So they're going to cut it up, and right now all we know to look for is we want to make sure there's no cancer. Number one, that's what we're looking for.
Okay.
And so I've never seen that happen. That usually shows there's some sort of chronic scar tissue. Big deal. I mean, that's just another name of the capsule is a chronic scar. And then they're checking for any sort of bacteria. They never find any bacteria that we're looking for. So I don't know on that. And I'm open to discussion. I think there's some science that needs to get advanced with this.
You bet.
If we can tell, you know what, test for this and this proves it. Let's do it. Yes.
That's right.
But I don't know what that is right now.
Right. So there's a lot of gray area, and there are a lot of things we don't know. Now, Cindy says, as I'm talking about, Cindy wrote on here, and you'll be able to answer questions as well from your website on here. Good. But when we were talking about what's in breast implants, and Cindy took this off of a website right now.
Yeah. So where's this? What website is this though? I mean,
you tell us.
I've asked the implant companies, and they're not saying this.
So as he's looking through
that, formaldehyde, talcum powder, I'm not seeing this. So I don't know, and that's why I have some of these. This Facebook group I think is very empowering. I think it's done a lot more good than it has done some harm. But I think there's also an underlying current on there, and I've been on it very minimally for a couple reasons. One, it's regulated. Two, I don't think it's my place to be on there.
Right.
But I want to see what my patients are going through. But it seems like there's an undercurrent that don't trust your plastic surgeon. He's just trying to get all your money from you and this, that, and the other. And I would say if you don't trust the guy, you should let him operate on you.
You bet.
Or guy or
because
girl,
we
right?
work for you. And I
Yeah.
tell my patients that every day. If you
Right.
don't like me, if you don't like him, then you find somebody else that's
Right.
going to work for you.
Just
Because
like
it's
any
primary
business.
care. You bet.
You're gonna find people that you connect with and you can trust, and then you can find people that you don't.
That's right.
So to me, that's the majority of plastic surgeons that I know are good people, and they want to help
Yes.
patients, and they came in this business because of that, not to just steal a bunch of your money.
So that list right there. So my question is, and I don't know this answer. Now I do know on immunizations, which we definitely don't want to get into that talk tonight. There is a list of ingredients, right? When you pull out
Yeah,
the
of
box,
course,
and
sure.
most doctors and nurse practitioners have never read that, right? I was a child.
Right.
Is there some sort of ingredient list on a implant
sure.
that we should? Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
And maybe
I mean,
that's right. Maybe it's not. I don't know that
but,
answer.
I don't know. I think that may be troubling because anything you take, anything you put in your body, there is a potential for a side effect.
You
right?
bet there
like
is.
They talk about, well, I was on this medication and I looked at the medication things, and then all of a sudden now I'm having these side effects.
Yes.
We did this in pathology class in med school. We'd be going through and we're like, oh, I have that disease. I have this disease, and we're just learning about it.
Oh
right?
yeah, I know.
Nobody's giving me
As nurse
anything.
practitioners
So
too,
there's
as nurses,
some of
we
that.
got everything.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
some of that may be playing into this. Is there anything that's totally pure? There's so much science and chemistry involved. I think if you dig enough and you try to take and piecemeal out everything, we can take this all the way down to the atoms. You got a hydrogen atom, you've got a carbon atom, can you combine them and make something toxic? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Does that mean that it's the most, I don't know, the overriding ingredient that's going to cause this? I don't know. And what's the levels of this that are safe or non-reactive? I guess probably a better way to say it.
Right. And that's different for everybody.
Yeah, and you're right. And I don't know.
So my best friend has breast implants. She's had them for 29 years, never had them changed. She has MS now. Now, does she have MS because of implants? Does she have MS because she was in a really a toxic marriage at one point? I don't know that answer, right? One of my other great friends who's watching on here tonight, actually Margot's husband's watching tonight. I see it right there. One of my other great friends in Florida is 63, has had implants for 20 plus years. Zero issues whatsoever.
Yeah.
She feels great. She went to her doctor who put them in 20-something years ago. He said, Lee, are you having any problems? And she said, no, I'm not having any problems. But Dani says, and I wasn't saying either. I was just saying, Lee, you may want to check about that.
Yeah, get them checked out, right.
And she feels fine.
Right.
And they are fine, and they're soft, and they're not contracted.
That's what I'm saying. I think the wrong approach is that all breast implants are evil.
Yeah, and I believe
not
that
the case.
all of nothing is all
Right.
evil. Nothing's right for everyone. There's not one thing that's 100% for everyone. There's not. Yes, I agree. But so what are we going to do after you explant? Here's the thing, and then we're going to talk about this fast because this has almost been an hour. If you're having problems, no, you're going to explant. If that's what you want to do, then you find a surgeon who believes you. Right?
Absolutely.
Who believes you?
Absolutely.
Whether it's him, whether it's somebody else, whether you live somewhere else, it doesn't matter. You find somebody who fits with you and your philosophy. It's as simple as that.
Yep.
But then you have to, detox your body after any surgery.
Right.
You need to you put just the simple fact you've had anesthesia, right? You want to get that out. You want to, and your diet is where I start. So this is where I work with my patients on this sort of thing right here is we begin to heal the gut, right? We eat a clean, as organic as possible, whole food, non-processed, packaged, bagged, canned, fake, man-made food diet. We start with the gut. You begin to heal the gut, right? Your probiotics and your L-glutamine and things like that are going to help heal the gut from the mouth to the anus, right? Detoxify heavy metals, which is a big deal in our office because we have a lot of, which then you have to always think too, if you have mercury in your mouth, you're not going to be you're not going to be chelating it. Well, I don't chelate patients anyway, but it does no good to chelate if you have mercury, right? In your mouth.
Yeah.
I use an infrared sauna in my office, and I'm a huge fan of a sauna for sweating. and it doesn't matter to me if you use an infrared sauna or if you get out and sweat or if you're sitting in
that
the
was my question.
YMCA. No,
what's
so
the-
I think infrared, I mean, there's far infrared, there's near infrared, there's infrared. I don't know all the differences on all the beams and all that stuff.
Right.
What I know is my patients need to sweat.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Whether you have breast implant illness or you have lupus or you just have joint pain or you
Look,
just need
I don't
to
have any
sweat.
of those things, and I need to sweat. I
You
need to get
bet.
up. I feel so much better when I exercise.
You bet.
Just getting it out is stress relief.
It's huge. And I say, if you don't have a sauna, then just get out and sweat. I'm a big fan of Epsom salt baths, right? Because, and replacing your minerals, because magnesium is one of the, it has over 300 functions in your body, and we're so deficient in magnesium, it's not even funny. I mean, all these things help you feel better. They don't have anything officially to do with breast implant illness, but it's all a part of healing your body, right? My whole philosophy is you have to eat well, sleep well. Your body heals when you sleep.
Absolutely.
You have to move well. You have to poop well. It's part of it. Plus, if you get put to sleep, you need to poop afterwards, right?
Yep.
And you have to.
Medications can sometimes get you constipated, and
You
that's
bet.
fun.
You have to decrease stress. It's huge, and you have to have community. Those are my 6 steps, that I am.
I'll tell you, and that last part, that 6th part, the community.
You bet.
I think it's huge, and I think hopefully we can be part of that community and not
You
be
bet.
excluded from that, because we want to be on your side with this stuff.
That's right.
We came into the business because we want to support you as a patient, as a human being, and so.
And it's huge, and it's
reliable.
such a hot topic, I mean, it's so emotional, and we're all so emotionally connected to this, and everyone knows someone who has breast implants, right?
Yeah.
Everywhere we go. I mean, people talk about this, and I just so appreciate you being open to listen. I mean, what else do you have to say?
I think science is evolving, and I think this is not a closed door issue. We don't have all the answers. I don't have all the answers. I can make educated guesses and move forward and do what I think is appropriate. That may change next year when we learn more things. I think we need to keep pushing the edge, keep pushing the envelope, and let's keep advancing this, and let's keep the dialogue going.
That's exactly right. And people call you every week about this, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
You probably, I mean, you consult probably, I don't know how many a week, but you are in the
We're seeing
operating.
a fair amount of this. We're also seeing a fair amount that want them in. So again, I'm there to help the patient. And if this doesn't work, if we take this out and after 6 months or a year, these symptoms don't improve, well, we can then improve the aesthetics if we want. Or we can do a fat transfer too.
Yes.
And the aesthetics of this are actually getting better as we're getting more familiar with taking these out and how the body responds with all this. That the aesthetics are not just all garbage. And that would be the last reason to not do this, right? If you're having issues, get it out. We'll worry about the aesthetics afterwards. And that hurts me to say that because it's my business.
I know. And I know that this is controversial because a plastic surgeon talking about removing something that they've been trained to do. And it's equally as controversial, a plastic surgeon talking about removing them and also putting them in.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people say things to
Absolutely they do.
and
But I treat everybody differently. I mean, everybody is individualized. I mean, I can see the same thing on somebody, and it's going to mean something completely different on this person, that person, than it would to the next person. And so what of that makes that right? Whatever that one person is requesting and desiring.
that's exactly.
I hate I don't hate it, but people say, well, what would you do to me? Well, nothing. What do you want done? It's not about me. It's about what you look in the mirror. It's not about your husband. What does he say? What does your sister say? What does your girlfriend say? What do you say?
That's right. What do you say?
Yeah.
It's interesting. We're talking about putting them in, taking them out. Dr. Kolb down in Atlanta, she has breast implants and she talks about that.
Yeah.
Now she does remove hers and replaces them or whatever.
Sure.
But she has breast implants, but she is a huge advocate for removal in patients who are having problems. So, there's no right or wrong answer on this. And if you have breast implants and you're not having any problems, I do think that we tend to get ourselves that everything's wrong.
Right.
I mean, they're all bad.
Right.
Blanket statement.
Right.
And that's not true.
It's just not realistic. I mean, it isn't. Because we don't know. We don't have that. This is the issue.
That's right. But we are learning, and I'm sure that your colleagues are on so many different, levels of this and different spectrums of this. And yes. So you are a true disruptor in your industry. I talk about endocrine disruptors all the time, and you're a plastic surgery disruptor for darn sure. You are because you listen.
Right.
And I want to tell you something. The women and men too come into my office and they tell me every single week, no one has ever listened to me and asked,
That's sad.
how do you feel? How do you feel? Or what are you eating?
Right.
Or what's happening to you?
Right. Yep.
Emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, sexually, all these things are connected.
Absolutely they are.
And if you don't think they are, you're sadly mistaken. And again, find yourself a physician or a nurse practitioner or a physician's assistant that believes you and that trusts you and that you can walk any journey with, not just this journey.
No.
Because most people don't have breast implants.
Right.
They have something going on, but
Sure.
they don't have breast implants. Walk your healthcare journey out with you.
Absolutely. I think that's really a great message.
And it takes a village, people. It really does. And listen, it's Music City Plastic Surgery on Facebook. Their website is phenomenal. And you can watch some videos that he's done, some news stories and things like that. Phone number here.
Yeah, 615-567-5716.
Yeah, you tell him Danny sent you.
That's it, yeah.
For sure.
Watch out, right?
But there are lots of different Facebook groups. For sure, though, really the biggest one is the Breast Implant Healing by Nicole. And it's a great group. You take it and you read it and you absorb people's stories, but know that your story is unique to you.
Right. Right. And I would, put your own spin on this, right?
You bet.
Don't just follow the crowd.
That's exactly right.
This crowd says this or that crowd says that. You have to make the decision on what's appropriate for you, and then try to do some research behind that. And again, the research is ever evolving, so it's not a closed door. But there's a lot of factors that you have to weigh into this. Surgery, taking them out is a much bigger surgery than putting them back in. It's a longer period. We didn't get done. It can be up to 3-4 hours.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about that.
And so it can be, there's a longer recovery period. Putting them in, we'll basically make a tiny incision, put them up underneath the muscle, and you're good to go. Taking them out, it's a bigger deal. It's a bigger deal recovery on your body. It can be a bigger deal up here, just on the pure aesthetics of it. You used to have a C cup, D cup. Now you're back to an A or a B. That's a big transition. Wow. Let alone all the other stuff that's going on with you physiologically.
Yes.
Let alone, hopefully the stress relief of, is this thing, attacking my body? Is this thing causing me to be sick? Hopefully that all that is kind of, going in the right direction once these get out. So this can be a big transition. And I would encourage you to kind of understand that, wrap your mind around it, and give yourself a break. That if you freak out before or after, or you have some bouts of depression, or you're crying, or your emotions all over the place, that's okay. Give yourself some time to get over it.
The very last thing I said is give your body grace and gratefulness, right? Everyone's
I'm not reading your stuff, I promise.
He didn't read it. He didn't know. I just walked right in and we got busy. But the very last thing I said was give yourself some grace, your body some grace, right? Yeah. Be grateful that we're alive, number one. Yeah, and your body is designed to heal itself. This I didn't write down, but I'm living proof of this with lupus and irritable bowel syndrome, all the things that I had going on at one season. You weren't born ill. Right. I'm a big believer. And if breast implants did make you ill, then that's there. But I'm thinking there's something genetically on there that helps turn that on when you have a foreign object or two in your body. But you weren't born ill, and what your body turns on, you can turn off. I know that. And it takes work, and it may take explant, right? Or it may take something else, right. But give yourself some grace and know that you're doing the best you can. And you have people out there to walk this journey with you. And I thank you so much.
Yeah,
oh my goodness, this has been fun, and it went in a hurry. You guys, show him some love. If you have any questions, he can log on tomorrow and look and answer your questions for you. But next week, there will be no Sunday night service because I didn't realize this was fall break.
Fall break, yeah.
Coming up. So we were going to be next week. I was going to talk about fatty liver disease and all that tonight. So this is way more interesting. But Saturday, we will be open Saturday at the store. Now our supplement store is open on Saturdays. And so make sure you show up there because Jackson will be there this Saturday. And I just wanted to say thank you to every single one of you. I don't think you know this, but my mom has been diagnosed with dementia, and I've been going back and forth to Kentucky almost every weekend since June. And you guys, I have felt your prayers. I've felt your love. I've gotten your messages, your texts. It's been a nightmare, and it is a horrific disease.
Yeah.
If it's a disease that there is no end for. I mean, death is the only way out of this. And it's terrible to think like that, but it's been horrible. And it was a really rough weekend. I got in last night, and it's just tough. So I appreciate you guys and thank you, because so many of you have come by the office with books and all kinds of love and notes, and I appreciate that. And I will walk this journey out with you all, because I've never been through anything like this as an only child, and my mom's an only child. So everybody's dead but me and her. And so it's really been something. And I know that the second book will be on this, because they don't prepare you for this.
No, they don't. Well, I'm impressed that you're here doing this as well as you are. That's awesome.
Well, it takes a lot of love. Thank you. And Alzheimer's, people, is a disease of prevention. And if you don't prevent it, we are in deep trouble. And that starts with your diet, your sleep, your exercise, the three big ones. Cutting out gluten, dairy, sugar, in my opinion. I know you don't think you have a gluten problem. I think we all have a gluten problem.
I don't know.
Y'all know that. We're not going to get into that. All right, guys, we ran 10 minutes over, but we sure do appreciate you. We love you, and we'll see you next week. Have a great week. Do something tonight to get ready for tomorrow. So tomorrow morning, you're not rushing around like a mad person, all right? Meal prep, get your clothes ready, do all the things tonight. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. All right, or we'll see you in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Oh my goodness, that was fun. Okay, wait, end it.